Member of the far-right militia group, the Oath Keepers, told a federal court yesterday the founder of that group tried to speak with former President Trump on January 6th. Militia member William Todd Wilson, who pleaded guilty to seditious conspiracy, said he was with founder Stewart Rhodes shortly after the insurrection as Rhodes tried to get in touch with Trump. As he listened, Wilson and prosecutors said he heard Rhodes repeatedly implore the individual to tell President Trump to call upon groups like the Oath Keepers to forcibly oppose a transfer of power. The person on the phone did not allow Rhodes to speak to Trump. That's according to court documents. Attorneys for Rhodes did not respond to NBC News requests for comment, but did tell CNN they were not aware of any time Rhodes had direct contact with Trump. They also said they had not heard previously about the call. The testimony comes as part of Wilson's plea deal. He has agreed to cooperate with investigators and to testify if necessary. Joining us now with more on this, justice reporter for NBC News, Ryan Riley, who's been covering January 6th and the fallout ever since. Ryan, good morning. So tell us more about this attempted contact. Was President Trump at any point on January 6th in touch with these militia members?
Yeah, so this was really interesting development yesterday. In fact, the judge sort of paused when he got to this paragraph and said, let me just make sure I got this right. And what it reveals is that there is some sort of Trump intermediary who was perhaps serving as a contact between the Oath Keepers and this far-right militia group. The Oath Keepers and the White House are potentially on January 6th. So this phone call took place in the Phoenix Park Hotel, which is right above the Dubliner. I think you probably know where it is in D.C., which is not very far from the Capitol grounds. What this court document says is that, and this individual agreed to, was that they were in a suite there, and that Stewart Rhodes, the former head of the Oath Keepers, put someone who's unidentified in court papers on speakerphone and implored that person to tell the president to call up groups like the Oath Keepers to basically help stop the transition of power. Basically, they wanted to bring in all of these groups that they had outside of the Capitol with guns to try to take over and stop the transfer of power. And that individual denied the request for this for Stewart Rhodes to speak directly to Trump, which, you know, that putting that in a court document is significant. I don't think that the feds put that in there. And if this is someone who doesn't have the actual ability to put Stewart Rhodes in touch with Trump, it's pretty clear that this is someone who had that capability. Now, there are a lot of, you don't know where this person comes from exactly, whether it's someone who is inside the White House, whether it's someone with the Trump campaign, whether it's just someone in Trump's orbit, perhaps Roger Stone, who has connections to the Oath Keepers. But, this is a significant development because it indicates that as this attack was unfolding, the Oath Keepers were trying to get in direct contact with Donald Trump.
Hey, Ryan, good morning. It's Jonathan Lemire. First, for the record, I like the Dubliner. Secondly, I want you to go a little further on what you just started to touch upon, which are these deep ties between members of Trump's circle and some of these extremist groups. Roger Stone, you mentioned connections to both the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. Also, there was a report this week, I believe, that one of the Oath Keepers was trying to get in touch with Dr. Ronny Jackson, now Congressman Ronny Jackson, when he was on the Hill, because he had information important to their efforts on January 6th. Give us a little more about the ties between these groups and why investigators are so closely scrutinizing them.
Yeah, with Ronny Jackson, it wasn't clear whether there was actually a direct tie. There was discussion of protecting Ronny Jackson, but in terms of the Oath Keepers communicating directly with him, it seemed like Stewart Rhodes wanted to, but didn't know how to actually get in contact with them. In this case, I do think because this is a court document, this is a plea agreement, the feds obviously have Stewart Rhodes's phone records because he is currently in federal custody. He might, obviously they use some encrypted apps to communicate. So I think that they obviously know who this person was that was on speakerphone on January 6th. But, it is just remarkable because, of course, as you mentioned, the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys is someone who's Donald Trump, said, stand up, stand back and stand by. The Oath Keepers have all of these links and were providing security for people in the broader Trump universe, leading up to January 6th. So I think that, these connections are significant, and it is just kind of remarkable that you have this group that is charged with seditious conspiracy that had such ties or was able to even get in touch with someone who could get in touch with Trump, who had a line of communication with Trump. It's just 1 degree of separation. There is what these court papers allege. So I do think it's significant, just showing those ties and how close things really were to going a completely different way on January 6th.
All right, Justice reporter for NBC News, Ryan Riley, thank you so much. Mika, Ryan brings up a great point, and I was going to talk about what the president said, the former president said in a nationalized debate when they asked him to separate himself from the Proud Boys. He just, of course, wouldn't do it, but he said, stand back and stand by.
Right.
And stand by for just this time, just this date. And of course, the Oath Keepers, too, again, had their own contacts with people close to Donald Trump, intermediaries with Donald Trump. Yeah, it could have gone dramatically different on that day. You do wonder if that's one of the reasons Donald Trump kept stalling, wondering if they were going to make more significant progress with their violence, because he ignored his children. He ignored, once again, testimony that Don Jr. Was saying he has got to make a statement and stop this. You heard one Republican leader after another telling him to stop it, Kevin McCarthy begging him to stop it and then screaming at him when he wouldn't stop it. And Trump just kept watching the video of the violence play out, watching police officers getting brutalized. And again, as we found out from testimony from people inside the Trump White House, actually stopping and rewinding the press coverage to see the particularly violent parts of the insurrection and celebrating that and being angry when people were telling him to call off the mob.
Well, I mean, in his video that he tweeted, he called these criminals in the middle of desecrating the Capitol and interrupting the process of our democracy very special. And he said, remember this day forever. Kind of says it all. He could not tell them to stop.
Shows how sick he is.
The violence. He is sick.
And just, again, it goes back to what we were saying before, Mika. These Washington Republicans, since they've been under the sway of Donald Trump, they are crazy.
So with that in mind, it's 6 minutes past the top of the hour.